which are those memoirs that you've read in your life or you've recently read that you felt like made a big impact on your reading, or that you would highly, highly recommend to anyone who is interested in finding memoirs. For me, these are the two memoirs that I have read in this year, 2024, which I feel like I would definitely recommend to someone who is looking for a memoir. And that is Educated by Tara Westover and How to Say Babylon by Safiya Sinclair. Hi, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Florence, and I'm a Black woman living in Germany who loves reading books. I also have a podcast where I talk more about books. I do author interviews, or I just talk to my friend who is also a book lover, and we just discuss books. You can also follow me on Instagram and on TikTok, where I do more reviews and talk about my hauls, and I just do short form content. Today I want to talk to you about two books. November is usually, or I've learned that November is nonfiction November, which is like nonfiction books are brought to the limelight, or people are encouraged to read more nonfiction books. And before, I would say I wasn't so much of a nonfiction reader, but just going through my list of the books that I've read, I've realized that I actually read a lot of nonfiction books, and they are mostly recommended. I rarely pick a book at a bookshop or online that is a memoir just by looking at it. It has to be, most of them have been recommended by people, and I think that's why I also want to do that too. And these two books, I would love to talk about them. They're both memoirs, but I'd love to talk about them in one video instead of like separating them, because one I read earlier this year, I read How to Say Babylon by Safiya Sinclair, I think at the beginning of the year, with a book club called Book of Sins, and she's her book club, she's a book talker, or she's a book content creator, Cindy, who encourages people to read Caribbean. So this was one of her book picks, I think maybe in March or something, and I read it with the book club. And I remember even just staying up, because she's based in Trinidad and Tobago, and that is, we have like a 4-hour time difference, so I had to stay up really, really late to attend the meeting. And the author was present, and from there, then I started following the author, and I absolutely loved her book. And then this, Educated by Tara Westover, is this month's, or let's say was October's book club pick with the Hangout Cafe, another book club, digital book club that I'm part of. And we are discussing the book in a few minutes. So when I read this, it reminded me so much of this. That's why I thought, perfect, they would blend in together in this video. And on top of that, I've come across a few content online, especially on TikTok, that I would love to also just watch with you guys, together with you guys, because I'm just reminded as I was watching these videos, as I was reading Educated by Tara Westover, then I went online and searched for more content when it came to Mormonism, because she was brought up in a family of Mormons. They were part of the Mormon religion. So they are also like, maybe I should do that in a separate video. Yeah, I think I'll do that as a reaction video, as a part of a reaction video, I think. Yeah, I think let me just concentrate on the books first. So the How to Say Babylon and Educated by Tara Westover. I feel like these two books share like several thematic or structural similarities, despite their different genres and contexts. First of all, How to Say Babylon is based in this, the storyline is based in Jamaica, while Educated is based in rural Idaho. So two totally different locations and two totally different women, a Black woman and a white woman. So one of the similarities that I found is they are both memoirs of personal struggle. Both books are deeply personal memoirs that recount the author's journeys of self-discovery and transformation. Safiya Sinclair explores her upbringing in Jamaica, which was marked by the intersection between gender, race, culture, and the effects of colonialism. As we all know, Jamaica was colonized by the British. And Tara talks about her escape from a very strict and religious survivalist family in rural Idaho. And when you see the themes that come up in the books, one of the biggest theme is a family and identity. And we see in both books, they center around the tension that family expectations has on individuals and on the desire of kind of affect the desire for individual autonomy. Sinclair grapples a lot with the complexities of her relationship with her father, because her father is part of a sect of Rastafarians who are really, really strict. And there's like a lot of pressure when it comes to her cultural identity, and especially in a post-colonial Jamaica. While in Educated, Westover also struggles a lot as she tries to reconcile her loyalty to her family, especially to her father, while growing up and having this desire, a burning desire for education and a life outside of the life that she knows and outside of the confines of her upbringing. And we see both women really, really struggle with that. And I think that I loved about both memoirs is the portrayal of education as liberation. We see in both books, education plays a very pivotal role in both of the authors' stories as a means of liberation. Sinclair is a very talented poet. She, even like the minute she started writing, when she learned how to write, she started writing her story. She started writing poems, and this poetry and writing offers a kind of a way out of her environment. And we also see that with Tara, because Tara wasn't even homeschooled. She actually had to teach herself how to read and write. Her mother taught her a bit, but she had to learn a lot. She didn't go to school. So she used the formal education, because then she went to university. She used the formal education that she got from like the university that she went to become like, to forge for a path of self-awareness and a personal freedom. So that is something I really, really liked. We also see a theme of breaking free from tradition. Both authors also confront the weight that traditional values have on their respective communities. We see Sinclair fighting against patriarchy and just the colonial influences that are on Jamaica, but that also affect her as a young girl. And we see also with Tara, these really extreme religious dogma and isolations that she experiences in her family. And both of the women really seek to try and find a way to break free from this rigid structure that they are born in, and as they try to carve their ways out. and find their own paths in life. Another theme I would say is like the search for a voice. Because we know that with patriarchy feels like women should just be silenced. And we see both women really trying to find their own voices. Sinclair, as a woman in Jamaica, she has to navigate the complex intersections of race, gender, and history to like claim her space in literature. And also in the world. And Tara, also coming from this really deeply religious and isolating family, and it's very religious, she tries to break free break free of this rigidness that, like, if you try to do something else that they don't understand, they see that as disobedience. But she really struggles to assert her own voice and to find out who she really is. And we see just the use of writing, like I said, where both of them found this as like a tool of resistance. Tara journaled a lot. As we read the book, we see her really journaling a lot. And then as she moves on in her education, she writes a lot of papers and dissertation, because she even goes ahead to get her PhD. And we see with Safiya Sinclair, she's a poet, and she goes on to win so many awards, and she writes how she feels. That's what she uses, and articulates her expressions and this suffocation that she feels in her poems. And that kind of brings out, they use that as a weapon to fight against their families and all these pressures and these cocoon that they are put in. Another theme that I think also came up in the two books is trauma and healing. We see in both books, both of the authors struggle in their each in her own way, with all this trauma that they experienced while living in these homes. And we see, of course, with patriarchy, there is a lot. The trauma is not only you're not only traumatized by the men in your family, but also the women, like in both cases, the wives, their mothers. They also become kind of agents of patriarchy, because they experienced patriarchy, they were victims of patriarchy, but they never got to heal from this trauma, and they just pass it over to their daughters. And we see that in both books, where women are subjected to a lot of abuse, mental, physical, and emotional, and even financial, from these from the men in their lives, and especially the fathers, because both of them were daughters to fathers who are patriarchs. And of course, we see something like the gender dynamics that come up in the books. We all know that in most of these sects or cults, I should say that in quotes, we see how patriarchy uses the power that it has, or the men use powers that patriarchy places on them to differentiate between what a woman and a man can do. And we see that in both authors, we see their fathers or the men in their families always talk about the place of a woman. A woman's place is in the kitchen, or doing small jobs, or taking care of the family, or cooking and cleaning. And we see that in both Jamaica and in Idaho, where both girls are. There are boys in their families, and they see they're being treated differently. They see even their mothers being treated differently. And they feel like, no, this is not the kind of life that we want to lead. We see there is more. And we see them using education to break out of these rigid structures, and to break out of these cocoon that they are placed in. And we see education as a form of personal growth. Another theme is, as I said, gender and power. And we see gender dynamics that is raised in both books. Sinclair often talks about her struggles of being a woman in post-colonial Jamaica in a patriarchal society where her worth and her role are often like dictated by others. And we see also Tara dealing with the same gender roles, especially in her family's really strict and traditional upbringing, where women's roles are primarily limited to domestic duties and, of course, obedience. I would say in summary, to me, I found that both books, How to Say Babylon and Educated, they deal with themes of self-liberation, identity, education as a means of growth, while also reflecting on the constraints imposed by family and societal norms. And despite their different cultural contexts, a white woman and a black woman, Idaho and Jamaica, both memoirs explore the universal desire to transcend limiting circumstances that women find themselves in, or the authors found themselves in, and their goal or their goal to build a life according to their own terms. And it's amazing just reading these books and seeing them reach those goals and be celebrated everywhere. And another thing that I found really, really amazing is how much grace they gave their families. That wouldn't be me. I would be cussing everyone. But both women wrote these memoirs with so much grace, and they acknowledged all the trauma that they had to undergo, but they still talk about their families with so much grace and so much forgiveness, and just accepting that that's how their family members are and they cannot do anything to change it, but they can change their lives. And I just hope that, I just wish that we could all have that. I know it's not so easy because everyone has their own trauma, but I just found it very, very, I admired the way they wrote this book, so much grace and just, being open, but also being forgiving. That's the best that I can say. But if you're looking for, if you're looking for a memoir that really, how can I say it? If you're looking for a memoir that will touch you, and especially now at this moment, and a memoir that really reminds you that diversifying your friendship, diversifying your bookshelf, diversifying your environment, like people you come into contact with, is so important. I think these two are good examples of such memoirs. And for me, they are both 5-star reads. So if you haven't picked them up, do so and let me know. But I would also love to hear if there are memoirs that you've read that you feel had a big impact on your lives. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and share with me which nonfiction books are you hoping to read during Nonfiction November. Thank you. Bye. And keep on reading.